How you doing this morning?
I'm pretty nervous, but I guess I'm gonna manage.
We are all ladies here. We all support
That's
each
what
other.
makes me more nervous.
I don't know much about Indian food because I have one of those stomachs that are sometimes a little iffy. What do you think is the best to try? I've tried chicken tikka masala. What do you think?
I love the biryani, actually. It's something that's slow cooked, and the meats it's slow cooked with rice. And I'm a rice eater, so that's one of my favorite dishes that I like. And Indian food is so diverse between the north and the south, between all the spices that we have. It's something that you have to try, and I think that's something that you develop a taste for. And between all my staff that I have right now and all the kids that work for me, they did not like Indian food before, but now they just can't do without it, So yeah.
Now, your story started in India. Talk about your journey here to New York and how you broke into the industry.
Well, it's a really long story, but I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible. I grew up in a military background in India, and every 2 years my father was transferred to a different area in India. And I was an extremely naughty kid. And I'm not used to being on stage, number one. The only reason I was ever on stage was when I was pulled up by my teachers. And now I'm here for a totally different reason. And however, while I was in India and while I was studying, I floated an event management company. I helped launch Corona in India. I launched Opel Astra from General Motors India Limited. I launched Parker, Yamaha, Kawasaki, all these brands in India. And life was overall good. And way back in 2001, I used to do concerts every year. And on December 9th, I lost my father, and right before coming here. And that was a big blow to me. And I have an older sister who was married. And, as per Indian traditions, now I had to take care of the family, and which is my mother. And so I just wanted to actually just take a break. I wanted to come to a country where I did not know anybody. And I chose the United States of America because I did not know anybody here. And so I came here so I told my mother that I'm coming here for 2 weeks. And it's been 15 plus years. And so that's how I came here. And once I was here, I remember the first restaurant that I ever ate in was called IHOP. And the moment I finished my meal there, I decided to go back the next day. Because as an Indian, I'm so used to warm food, and we eat sandwiches as a snack or pancakes. I mean, I'm just used to warm food. And I happened to meet this gentleman who had retired as the CFO of Mobile. And his name was Mr. Girdhar Gopal. And just over lunch at a place. And I think I just lost my father, and he was one of the nicest gentlemen that I've ever met. And we were just brainstorming, and I think, he was like a father figure. And he had a couple of restaurants, and he asked me to just do like an analytical study for him. There was a group that he had that was not doing very well. And so I called up my mother and I said, instead of 2 weeks, I'll be back in 4 weeks. And long story short, from that time onwards, from just managing the entire group to opening very many more restaurants and now owning my own, that's where I am. I did not know what I was doing then. I still don't know what I'm doing. So I'm clearly at the same spot.
Bonnie, you've really turned around what we've heard for years, that a woman's place is in the kitchen, but you're running the kitchen. Talk about who opened doors for you.
Well, I think that the community opened the doors for me. The community has been the biggest cheerleader for me. The United States of America opened doors for me. My family, who's been very supportive of me, opened doors for me. And need I forget Martha Stewart, who was also very supportive to me. And you know, she walked into my restaurants one day, and I happened to talk to her. And by herself, she was very encouraging. She was very supportive. She wrote a lot of blogs for me on her pages, which I never asked for. But I think these are all things that added to my goals.
What would you say was your greatest accomplishment thus far?
I think my greatest accomplishment personally would be that before coming here, my mother, me, we lived on rent in India, and I think my biggest accomplishment has been that I could buy my mother a house and pay it off along with the car. And personally, that is my biggest accomplishment. And professionally, I would say my biggest accomplishment has been that despite all the restaurants that I've opened, but the first one, Little Kebab Station, I opened in less than $10,000. And from there is where I started, and I think that is one of my biggest accomplishments till date.
This is a two-part question. I'm hoping you could share with us your secret sauce, but in two ways. Your actual secret sauce, and what is the top leadership principle that you've discovered and executed that has contributed to your success?
If I tell you my secret sauce, I'd have to kill you. A part of the secret sauce is definitely tequila added to it, for sure. But I think it's basically that I like to lead by example for my team. I like to practice what I preach, you know. I try to draw a line between my work and my pleasure. And I do exactly what I expect my team to do. If I expect them to be there at 9 a.m., I'm the first person to be there. If I'm out till 4 o'clock, I'm the first person who'll be there early in the morning. So I'll try to lead by example, and that's very important in any leadership.
And we were speaking earlier about how you give young people in your business a lot of opportunity. Why is that important?
Well, I think that the youth is a driving force for any corporation, company, even a nation. However, in my businesses, I have a mix of young people and older people that work. And I think the young people bring in a lot of fresh ideas and creativity and enthusiasm. However, the older lot brings in the experience, and they help train the younger ones to be more professional in their work. And I think it's very important for any successful business to have an equivalent, a balance between the young and the old. It shouldn't be all young or all old. And it creates a very healthy environment. And also I feel that when I was young, I had the opportunity. I was given the opportunity by my family, and I think that it is my duty to give them the opportunity. And age is just a number, like everybody says, but nobody in my company is over 22 and a half, including me.
I think a lot of us as women, as human beings, sometimes we doubt ourselves. We don't have the self-confidence to go after our dreams. What would you say to a young person who comes to you and says, I love to cook, I would love to open my own restaurant, but I just can't do that?
That's a good question. I always feel that everybody should fight for their dreams, and it's totally worth it. And my father's last words to me, which I have tattooed right on my arms here, it says, "Let no one steal your dreams." And I think that's very, very important. And all the other things are very secondary. So whatever your dream as a person is, you have to believe in yourself and fight for it. And that's very important.
Now, a lot of you may not be able to see her tattoo from here, but tell us what it says right below.
It just says, "Let no one steal your dreams." That was my first tattoo that I got, I think, a year ago. And I have a tattoo over here which says, "The devil whispered in my ear, you're not strong enough to withstand the storm. Today I whispered in the devil's ears, I am the storm."
I have a tattoo as well. It's on my foot here, and it says Ohana, which means family.
Oh,
How
right.
important is it to have that kind of support with you?
It's very important, at least for me, it has been extremely important. And I don't have the pleasure of living with my family. My mother visits me every year. I love getting pampered, so I think that's the most important reason. And and I think once you have your family who's very supportive of you, then nothing is impossible. You just feel from inside that you have no fear. You just have no fear, and that's very important when you have your family around you.
I'd love to hear more about you as a person. What are some of the things you like to do outside of work?
You don't want to know that.
Where would we find you on a typical Saturday?
Well, I work very hard and I party very hard, for sure. So, yeah. If I'm not working, I'm either partying somewhere, yes, for sure.
Do you have a favorite cocktail?
Yeah, it's not a cocktail. I have tequila on the rocks.
Talk to us a little bit more about your latest venture, the restaurant that will be opening on Mamaroneck Avenue.
Well, I have a little drunken chef that I'm opening on 91 Mamaroneck Avenue. It's going to be a gastro bar and tapas bar. And I'll be carrying about cuisine from about 13 to 15 different countries. And I've had the opportunity to travel to all these countries. And when I did travel, I realized that, whenever you do travel, you don't really go to all these fancy restaurants. You try to go to the street vendors and you try to eat what is very specific of that place. And while I've been traveling, I try to learn the cuisine up over there. And that's something that I bring back to this restaurant. And I hope that it does really well. We'll also be open late night to party later, so, on Friday and Saturdays. I look forward to seeing all of you at the new location, at the launch of the new location.
Well, thank you for the open invitation.
You're welcome.
Do you find it difficult to come up with a menu to cater to so many different needs, from a gluten-free diet to a vegan diet, vegetarian?
It's all like a trial and error. So right from the time I opened Kebab Station, I remember opening Crepe Street, and I never made a crepe in my whole life. So, it's something that I'm always open to learning. And while I'm learning, I always like to try new stuff. My entire team is very creative as well. And I'm very open to suggestions. A lot of customers help me out with their recipes. So this is something that I won't say that every cuisine of mine I'm an expert in, but it's something that each one of us, if we work towards it, I think that it's achievable. Does that answer your question?
That answers the question. Is there anything personal that you're able to share with all of us that has really helped you grow into what you're doing today?
Anything personal? Okay. I think I'm just a very personally. I'm a person. I think since I grew up in a military background, I'm very disciplined. I'm very disciplined when it comes to work. I'm totally not disciplined after work, but while I'm working, I'm extremely disciplined when it comes to work. I learn how to draw that line, and that's very important. So discipline is something, your principles. I believe in principles, and there's nothing that I would do to compromise on my principles. And that is something that I've learned growing up, and that is something that I feel is very, very important more than anything else.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Bonnie Saran, everyone.
Thank you.